Hey GCA families, hey, it's Pastor Scott, and I just want to say first, I miss you guys and hope you guys are staying safe. And you know what I do, Chapel, what I always bring with me? Always buy drinks. So GCA teachers, right now, these drinks are for you. So all you have to do right now is reach through your phone, your laptop, your iPad, and that drink, it's yours. So, hey, miss you guys. Obviously, the whole Academy staff misses you guys. I actually spoke at the last chapel we had back in March, and over the last several weeks, we've been just staying safe, right? Doing social distancing, trying to flatten the curve. But I have an opportunity today to share with you from one of my favorite Bible characters in the Bible. And to me, he doesn't always get the credit because, well, his cousin was Queen Esther. But when Mordecai actually adopted Queen Esther, she was just his cousin Hadassah. And her parents had died, and he took her in, and he did the right thing. And Esther eventually became the queen, but because of Mordecai's story, she actually had the opportunity to save the lives of the Jewish people. But what's interesting, if you have time this week to read the story of Esther, you see that Mordecai over and over again just did the right thing. And most of the time, it was just sitting at the king's gate. And if you read the story, you see over and over, all he did was sat at the king's gate and served faithfully. And one time, because he was just sitting at the king's gate, he heard two guys who actually worked for the king, King Xerxes, and their names were Bigthana and Teresh. And Bigthana and Teresh sound like two pretty big bodyguards, right? Bigthana and Teresh. But these guys were bad news because they actually wanted to kill their boss, the king. And now, what could Mordecai have done? He could have said, hey guys, let me in on the plan here because I want to help you guys. Let's overthrow the king. My cousin, she's already the queen. We can take over. But no, he sent word to his cousin and he said, hey, Esther, these guys are trying to kill your husband. And so when she got word, she passed it on to her husband. And sure enough, it was found out these guys were actually trying to kill her husband. And of course, they were executed. And all we find for chapter after chapter is that Mordecai just served faithfully. He stayed at the king's gate. He wasn't promoted for what he did. All he did was serve faithfully. And sometimes serving faithfully or just waiting like we're doing right now can sometimes you kind of go like, what's going on here? Like right now, you guys are sitting at home a lot. You're watching a lot of videos, just like this one. You're doing a lot of Zoom calls. You're just watching video after video, watching me going, oh, when's this finally going to end? When are we actually going to be able to see each other again and actually like interact? But we don't know the time on that. And here we see with Mordecai's story that he wasn't rewarded for what he did. And so he sat at the king's gate year upon year. And he might have been thinking at some point like, hey, listen, I raised this woman. She's now the queen. When am I going to get any kind of acknowledgement, from my cousin? I saved the king's life. And all we find is this story gets worse because the king had a guy who worked for him named Haman. And Haman really, really, really didn't like Mordecai. And he didn't like Mordecai, and he wanted Mordecai to bow to him, and Mordecai wouldn't do it. And so Haman eventually got the king to issue a decree. And the decree was actually all the Jewish people were going to be killed. And so when Mordecai found this was going to happen, he sent a message to his cousin, and he said, hey, listen, you need to do something. And if you don't, God's going to raise somebody up. But here's what I'm going to tell you. And he said to her in the letter, he says, maybe you were put here for such a time as this. And I would say to you guys this, maybe we're here on earth, 2020, here living in the Lake Norman area for such a time as this in 2020, because we have an opportunity right now to show God's love to others. Because we can either have faith or we can have fear. And so he sends the message to his cousin, and she decides she's actually going to do something about it. And so she sends a message back to her cousin Mordecai and said, listen, you guys need to pray for me because I'm going to go talk to my husband. Now, back in those days, you couldn't just, if it was the king and the queen, she couldn't just go talk to him like we would today, like a husband and wife. And so she sends a message, says, pray and fast for me because if I die because of this, I'll die, but I'm going to do the right thing. And so she goes and sees her husband, and sure enough, he loves her. He's not upset that she comes to see him, and he says, honey, what can I do for you? I love you, and I'll give you half my kingdom. And she goes, I want to have a big banquet. And in this big banquet, I want you to invite Haman to come to it. And of course, Haman is like, this is awesome. He gets word that he gets to go to a banquet with the king and the queen. And at this banquet, Xerxes again says to his wife, Esther, hey, I love you. What can I give you? Anything? She goes, I want to have another banquet. So they had another banquet. And things are just going amazing. And at this point, Haman is like, life is great because the king loves me. His wife loves me. and I can't stand this guy Mordecai. I'm going to end his life. And what Haman doesn't realize is God has everything under control. And he doesn't realize that even though he's making all these mistakes, okay, God is seeing the wrong things he's doing. And so finally, before the last banquet, the king can't sleep one night. And he can't sleep. And finally, he says to his men, he said, guys, hey, read me my history book. And they read him his history book. And what do they find in the history book? They read about the time where that Mordecai saved his life. And so he says to the guys, says, hey, go get Haman for me. And they go get Haman. They bring Haman up to him. And Haman goes, what should I do for somebody that I want to reward and I want to show kindness to, that I love for all he's done? And Haman's thinking about himself, but really what the king was wanting to do was he was wanting to bless Mordecai. And so Haman's like, well, king, if you want to show somebody you love him, you put him on your horse and you parade him through the town and tell people how awesome he is. And so Haman is thinking to himself, hey, this is going to end out amazing for me. You know, I can't stand this Mordecai guy. You know, he's going to be put to death because he's a Jew, and, you know, I'm going to be paraded through the town. But the reality was this, who was getting ready to get paraded through the town was Mordecai. And the king said to Haman, he said, Haman, I love that idea. Go do that for Mordecai. And it was amazing because all of a sudden Haman realized, oh my goodness, this isn't about me. Okay, this is about somebody else. And Mordecai had been serving faithfully year after year, just sitting at the king's gate, but eventually he was rewarded for what he had done. And my encouragement for you guys is this, because the story ends in a way where Mordecai eventually gets rewarded for all that he's done. And so my encouragement to you is serve faithfully. Do what you need to do as an elementary child going to GCA. So do your homework assignments. Do what your teachers are asking you to do. Okay? Serve faithfully with your mom or your dad or your grandparents or whoever you're in a family situation with. Do what they ask you to do. Do the right thing over and over again, because here's what I know. When you're doing the right thing over and over again, God sees it. God sees when you're doing the right thing. Even though life is a little different for us right now, we're believing and praying, hoping that it's going to return back to some normalcy in the near future. In the meantime, you can serve faithful. You can be like Mordecai, going, you know what? I don't know how this is going to end, but I know I'm going to do the right thing. So have an awesome week. We look forward to seeing you guys this next school year at GCA. Miss you guys. And of course, buy drinks for the teachers. All right. Have an awesome week.